Firstly, a very warm welcome to one and all, and it's so wonderful to see you all here today. I am Komal Prasad from NELTAS Institute, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here for the webinar Design Thinking for Educators. I see there are many teachers and principals who are interacting first time with NELTAS. So let me introduce you to NELTAS, our co-founders, Mr. Vikram Shah.
Good evening, everyone, and I welcome you all to this workshop for Design Thinking by Sushil.
So, taking ahead, NELTAS was formed in the year 2011. We conduct international competition English ECAT since 2011. From last year, we have also started with math and science competitions. For the preparation of these competitions, we have published books for grammar, vocabulary, and comprehension. These books are available both in physical and digital format. Yes. So coming to the training sessions, we have Leap and Grammar Booster. These are English language development programs, which are for students from grade 1 to 8. Jolly Phonics and teacher empowerment programs are for parents and teachers to help them enhance soft skills and provide the right educational tools. NELTAS always intends to pay back to the society, where we organized various free seminars during the lockdown period and intend to continue the same in future as well. Few topics that we already conducted are innovative strategies of teaching in the classroom, physiotherapy, Ayurvedic home remedies, socio-emotional learning, support mental health, pause and reflect, energy management, and many more. A quick glance of NELTA's journey. NELTAS is associated with more than 650 schools from 165 cities of 26 states and union territories of India. Students from 13 countries participate in English, Math, and Science international competition. More than 9 lakh students participated in these competitions so far. More than 5,000 teachers, parents have been trained for these programs. Now let me introduce Mr. Sushil Mungekar. He is an inspirational speaker, an entrepreneurship educator, and design thinking practitioner. He has founded ENpower in 2016, a venture that nurtures 21st century life skills and entrepreneurial mindset among school children between the age group of 8 to 18 years. The company has built a fun learning ecosystem for school children covering more than 26,000 students across the country. The company has also been actively promoting India's Future Tycoons, India's first entrepreneurship search and mentorship platform for young adults, helping them to work on sustainable venture ideas. Sushil sir has been a serial entrepreneur and has built, co-founded innovative business models and ventures such as Chamak, on-demand laundry services, Arogya, healthcare financing venture, and Index Advisory, its human resource and psychometric domain consulting firm. Being a chemical engineer and MBA finance, Sushil sir worked with various Tata companies in the domain of corporate strategy, M&A, business development, financial services, and risk management. Not taking much of your time, sir. Please continue with the webinar.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to play a small video for you all before we begin. Okay, so here I go.
World is changing. It's time to wake up. 62% of today's jobs won't exist in the next 5 years. 85% of the jobs of 2030 are not even known yet.
Changing economies, markets, technologies, environment, and social priorities
add to these uncertainties. How do you prepare your child for such a volatile and uncertain future? It is time you think beyond academics, marks, grades, and university admissions.
This age is a powerhouse of ideas, and if you give them a platform, they have a power to change the world.
Breadth of ideas which came from these students.
Use these formative years of children to think like an entrepreneur. Give your child a head start by nurturing entrepreneurial mindsets. Presenting NPower, India's first comprehensive entrepreneurship learning ecosystem for school children. Transform your child's thinking abilities through our structured curriculum, gamified experiential learning techniques, live interactions with thinking coaches, and India's largest mentorship network.
We are with a technical mind and we are going with a business mind. Learning business with cooperation and coordination.
All the students to develop. Wait, bring out ideas. It's not something you do it.
Business School, Part 2.
Enlightening.
More than 27,000 students across the nation have gone through our programs and given wings to their ideas, realized their creative potential and ability to drive changes. They feel more confident to define their own careers in their area of passion. They feel empowered. Empower your children to make their own future.
Over to you, Sushil.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks, Vikram, and thank you all of you. I can see 218 participants on this Zoom live on Saturday evening. So, very fact that you have chosen to spend time on this precious day, I'm sure everybody's expecting a lot of stuff. We have 90 minutes. I can just promise you that next 90 minutes are going to be transformational as far as thinking is concerned for you. Reminds me of Shah Rukh Khan's dialogue of Chak De 70 minutes. So, it's very similar to that. Design thinking as a concept is pretty vast and pretty deep, and doing justice to that in 90 minutes is a bit difficult. When I spoke to Vikram, we did that, but he said that it's important to take teachers through this, and that's why we have crammed most of the stuff and brought it to you. So I'm going to be a bit super fast on the speed. We have more than 222 participants. So if you want to ask anything, please write it in a chat box and I'll have a look at it. I can take those participants. It's going to be interactive through chat box. So I would request you to keep your speakers off. We'll have live interaction at the end of the session. And here we go. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so Vikram has given go ahead. So, okay, so that's the starting point. The world is changing around us, and it's time for us to wake up not in literary sense, but in terms of what we do. I think it's a time for us to wake up. Just to give a brief, my journey, I am not as educator just as you. I was somewhere in this middle of this columns 25 years back, being a chemical engineering. Then I moved to financial markets. So this was my world. I then moved to corporate strategies, working on mergers and acquisitions, acquiring companies in Tatas. So that was my work. And then I moved to startups. So I built a startup. So I was just to tell you that I'm completely away from education. So don't worry, I'm not going to give you a lot of gyan on education, because probably you understand education far better than me. But that seems to be my past life. What I see now myself doing is this. I actually have taken up this as my passion, as my life, purpose of my life, of empowering next generation to think like an entrepreneur. And we have a highlight where of some of our participants got chance to present at United Nations India Conclave in front of 500 CEOs, their ideas, their thought process, their stuff. So that is what kicks us. When I say me, it's the entire team of NPower. So that's about us. And one important thing that we have learned in this entire process, one word that actually focuses the entire thing, is how do we manage change? Managing change is extremely important. And as we have seen Education particularly has gone through a complete disruption in COVID in last 18 months. All the stuff has completely undergone change. And if we do not know how to manage this change, we'll actually get saddled. Whenever we are forced towards change, the first reaction that we have is I'm just doing what others are doing. So we keep following the leaders, we find out what they do, and we try and understand what's going on. And therefore, somewhere we have reluctance to change. And that is something which actually pushes us back. Important thing, and this is something which has not been told by me, it has been told by Albert Einstein. He always says that if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. So short of the story is, if you don't change the way you work, if you don't change the way you deal with change, you will be left out in this market. So it is absolutely true for everyone, whether it is corporate, whether it is education, whether it is teacher, principal, school, whether it is student, for everyone, this is the most important message. I'm going to take a pause out here and I'm going to throw a riddle for all of us. And if you know the answer for this, some of my folks are there, so please don't be a spoil sport, don't reveal the answer. If you know the answer, don't reveal. It's a murder mystery that I'm going to put. If you want to participate, put your ideas in the chat box. It's a 4-sentence murder mystery. You have to solve the murder mystery and you tell me that how did that happen. The story goes like this, listen very carefully. Heer and Ranja, everybody knows Heer Ranja, right? Heer and Ranja were found dead. Heer and Ranja were staying on the 22nd floor of a high-rise building. Heer and Ranja were staying on the 22nd floor of a high-rise building. On one Sunday morning, Heer and Ranja were found dead in their room. It was a breezy Sunday. The window was open. There was a broken glass and a table in the room. There was a broken glass and water on the floor of the room. You need to tell me, how did Heer Ranja die? And your time starts now. If you have any suggestions, you can write it in chat box. Fast. I repeat for the benefit of everyone. Heer and Ranja were staying on the 22nd floor of the high-rise building. Heer and Ranja were found dead in the room. It was a Sunday morning. It was a breezy Sunday. They were found dead. There was a table inside the room. There was a breezy Sunday, window was open, and there was broken glasses and water on the floor. You need to tell me, how did they die? Somebody writes, Fardana writes, it's suicide. I think she is referring to Sushant Singh Rajput, but no, it's not a suicide. Kill each other. I never said they were married, so they should not kill each other. There was food poisoning. No, it's not the answer. Somebody shot them. No, that's not the answer. Cyclone. I think this must be from the eastern part. No, that's not correct. They must have slipped. No, I think you're learning more from Sridevi episode. Murder. No, seems to be watching a lot of murder mysteries. Bullet shot from window. No, absolutely not. Murder. Cloud enter inside the room. Wonderful. I heard this for the first time, but no. Due to wet floor. No. Shock. Electric shock you meant, or a emotional shock, but both are no. Heart attack, no. Happiness killed them, wonderful, but no, answer is no. They were old, no, not old enough to die. You said imagine, not real, no. So this is the story. Broken glass must have stuck them, no. They were not able to breathe, oxygen ki kami thi, no. Grief killed them, no. It's not related to COVID, so get out of COVID, please. They were stressed of the pandemic, no, not at all. Not a real story, it's a real story, I'm telling you. Heart attack, no. Imagination of the dead, no, they were dead. Get out of COVID, please. We are not going to discuss COVID here. Fear, no. The characters of the story, no, I'm telling you, Heer Ranja died, so what more do you want? I saw them. Due to high-rise building, no. Phobias, no. I'm getting lots of answers. Ice, dispute, poison. All of you see murder mysteries too much, or Crime Patrol on TV looks like. Love opposition, wonderful. I think this is Ekta Kapoor serial coming directly. No. Who were Heer Ranjas? Who were Heer Ranjas? I think that's the first question that has been asked to me. Love each other. Okay, let me answer this question. They were dead before, no. Lovers They were, oh, fantastic. So let me just give you a answer to that question. Human, they were not human beings. Somebody asked me, were they human beings? And I'm saying, no, they were not human beings. My goodness, somebody has written some story for Karan Johar's movie. Ranja rushes aid here, but not too late and all that. But no, that's not true. They were not human. Yes, Shubhangi Pawar has written, and I've answered that. They were not human. And immediately somebody, Hitali, yes, fine. Hitali has written, they were fish. Okay, yes, you're right. They were fish. They were fish. No lizards. They were fish. Nobody likes lizards. Aquarium broke. Okay, Hitali has further written aquarium broke, glass broke. And big round of applause to Hitali. Wonderful work. Hitali answered it. Hitali said that they were fish. They were in the glass, and the glass broke because of the wind, and they had fallen down, and that's why they were dead. So Hitali, wherever you are, I can't see you, but big round of applause to you. Okay, wonderful story. Okay, just rewind the time by 5 minutes. When I told you Heer Ranja, what was going in your mind? All of us, we assumed they were human beings, right? All of us. And we went on suicide to blah, 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 to love and hate and marriage and all these things and trauma and all these things. Till the time Hetali asked the first question that who were they? And when I said they were not human beings, within 20 seconds you could solve the riddle. Within 20 seconds she then built it. So if they were not human beings, they were fish. And if they were fish, probably they were aquarium, and aquarium broke, and that's how they died. It really tells us, one is it's a riddle, but it really tells us that most of the time, the answer lies if we challenge the obvious. In this entire story, the obvious was that they were human beings. We assumed that. We assumed and we went further and we started finding out the answer, but the answer was not there. The moment we challenged the entire hypothesis, the moment we challenged the entire obvious, that's how we got the answer. And that is something which is extremely important for us, and most importantly for teachers. Most of the times we actually build on obvious. And once we come out of the obvious, and in the design thinking paraphernalia, we are going to actually see how we are going to do that. And that will, some of these things will actually shock you in terms of how do we behave. But that's the story. I hope you enjoyed the riddle. If you enjoyed, put thumbs up or put clapping, then I can realize that you have enjoyed that. So the most important message that I want to give today evening, the first message of today evening is, in order to find out a solution, we'll have to come out of our comfort zone. And if we come out of a comfort zone, that's where the real magic happens. And when I said a comfort zone, that doesn't mean our house, our this thing. Most of the time, we have our own comfort zone of our own knowledge, our past baggage, our understanding. We have spent 20 years in education. We understand everything. We have spent a lot of things. We have seen 20 academic years, so on and so forth. Not belittling your experience. I mean, that's absolutely important. But most of the time, that actually gets converted into a comfort zone. And if we build a comfort zone, we ignore, just the way we ignore this Heer Ranja story, that probably they were not human beings, they were fish. And that's how real fun starts. I'm going to express our education system in this picture. And you will be surprised that, on one hand, I'm talking about education system. On the other hand, I'm showing you some river. What nonsense is this? But let me build it on this picture. What you see in this picture, you see a river, nice river flowing. It's a Honduras river, somewhere in Latin America. And this bridge is known as the Choluteca Bridge. Okay. What's wrong with this picture? If you can put it in chat box, I can really understand your thought process. Is there something wrong in this picture? Or this picture is perfect? And this is not morph, this is the actual picture. I can... So in this picture, if you see, the bridge which is supposed to be there on the river is not on the river. It's somewhere else. Now, let me give you some story behind it. This bridge was built by Japanese engineers, and Japanese never go wrong. So when they built this bridge, this was actually built on the river. Okay. And then they actually were hit by the cyclone. Okay. And after the cyclone, a lot of bridges in the area had fallen down. They actually got completely wiped out. But this bridge, the architecture of this bridge was so strong that nothing happened to this bridge. So great amount of kudos to all the Japanese engineers who actually built this bridge. But you know what happened? Because of the cyclone, the river changed its entire flow. And the river which was earlier flowing below the bridge has started flowing from side of the bridge. And therefore, if you can see, there is no entry on the bridge, there is no exit on the bridge, and this bridge is virtually useless. Okay. In many ways, our education system or what we have built represents this kind of a bridge. The education system that we built was nothing wrong with that. You know, it was built better. We all are product of that. So whatever we have achieved in our life attributed to this kind of education system. The only thing what has happened is it has not changed with time. And if things don't change with time, over a period of time, they start becoming less and less relevant. I won't use the word irrelevant, but they start becoming less and less relevant. And to the point that great systems, great projects, great stuff actually starts yielding lesser and lesser results. Somewhere we have to introspect as teachers, because you are the one who is actually holding the fort of education across the country. Somewhere as teachers, as educators, as principals, as companies which are working in the space of shaping students, have to really find out that have we changed with time. And that's why I started my session with change and why it is important. So give this example every time, and if you can remember this Honduras bridge at every point of time, you'll always realize that unless and until we contextualize what we are doing with the change in the environment, then we will become irrelevant. COVID is a perfect example. The entire COVID scenario, the pandemic, unfortunately, has changed so many industries, and education is one of the most affected industry. Look at the examination, look at the online learning, online, offline, all that stuff is happening. So somewhere we'll have to take cognizance of all these things. Does that make sense? If you feel it makes sense, keep putting your claps or thumbs ups. Then I understand that we all, because interaction becomes a bit difficult on such a big crowd. I think we already have 223 people. So remember one thing, that making changes with time, making changes with what is changing around us is the most important thing. I'm going to give you one more riddle. I think this entire session is more of riddles and puzzles and stuff like that, which will probably force you to think. And here, if you have answers, please unmute yourself and tell me in this. There's a picture in front of you. 3 boys are trying to see the match. Obviously, the shorter fellow, the white t-shirt fellow, is not able to see the match. Rest of the 2 are able to see the match. And there's a problem, right? What would be the solution to this problem?
To make the curtain boxes which are kept over there, to make it according to their height.
Ah, wonderful. I don't know who has answered, but yeah, somebody's saying that.
The tall person should get down.
2 boxes can be put together and the shorter one can stand, I think.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. If a tall person doesn't need that, why the hell is taking
he doesn't need it, yeah.
Absolutely. You should give it to the chotu fellow, and that the shortest fellow should be able to see the match perfectly.
It means to give equal opportunities to all.
It, in some context, yes, it means
and also cater to individual differences and facilitate.
Absolutely. I think the objective is perfect, but the solution, if I hear loud and clear, is the tall person doesn't need a box. If that box is given to the shorter person, probably you have solved this. And this is what the solution, right? Because now all 3 of them are able to see the match. The tall, the short, the middle person, everybody is able to see the match. We have solved the problem. Great kudos to everyone. This is how we solve the problems. And there is nothing wrong in solving this problem, because this is how we have been traditionally taught to solve the problems. In our education system, this is, once the problem comes, we try and solve the solution, give the solution and solve it. I'm going to show you one more picture here, and that's going to blow your mind completely of how do we solve the problem. And
I agree. I thought so. Why we need a hardcore, wall? I really thought that that why do we need a hardcore wall
Wonderful.
and just have one kind of a parameter to be able to view a match.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
That's what I was thinking, sir.
Superb. Great. So if you all are thinking, next time you should join me for taking design thinking challenge, because we have already crossed that bridge. But wonderful. I think that brings us to a very insightful understanding that the problem was not that the resources were unequal. The problem was that non-transparent wall itself. Now, moment you look at this, you start, looking at wall as a problem, and not that the short field is not able to see the match. And you have actually made this wall transparent now. Of course, you can't make it glass because it will get broken if the ball hits. So they have made it of a mesh, of a metal mesh. Now see the beauty. Now all three of them can see the match peacefully. You don't need those external resources like boxes. So you have eliminated those boxes permanently. Because what happens even tomorrow the shorter person than the white fellow comes, you can't keep on adding boxes. So you'll need more and more boxes. So you don't need those boxes at all. If you talk to these guys, they will tell you, you know what, standing for 90 minutes and seeing this match is painful. So now they can sit and watch the match. They can sleep and watch the match. They can sleep for 90 minutes and watch the match, just the way in Australia people watch the match, sleeping. In India, that's not possible. But this is what design thinking is. Why I'm showing this picture? Because in one simple slide, I can actually arguably show you a distinct difference between a traditional problem solving and design thinking. Design thinking is a problem solving tool. But this one picture will tell you how powerful, how impactful, how different this is from a normal problem solving. Now, what happens with all of us and all our students is we have been told to solve traditional problem. Moment problem, we say a problem, we start coming up with a solution. Because that is how we have been trained. We have been told to do that. Okay. In real life, and we all are now grown up. Tell me, is there anyone who defines problem for us? There is no one. In school, we set an examination paper and we give it to a child, and child solves the problem. But in real life, nobody is going to set a question paper for them. So what is important is not only find a problem, find a solution. Another important thing is to define a problem properly. And in our current education system, I mean, barring few schools, I must acknowledge that, we do not teach students to identify problem. And if you do not identify a problem correctly, your solution cannot be correct. Am I making sense? And that's the power of design thinking. So if that would have excited you enough about design thinking, I told you, this is going to transform your thinking in some way. So this is what design thinking. I'm going to define because everybody loves definition, but this is more from a definition point of view. It's a non-linear, just remember those words and we'll deal with those. Non-linear iterative process. Okay, 3 words, non-linear. It's not unilateral. It is iterative, you experiment. Process, it's not one decision. That creators use to understand the user, challenge assumptions. We saw the Gir Ranja, to challenge assumptions, redefine their needs and create innovative solutions. Okay. We'll share these presentations later, so you don't have to take notes. Don't worry about it. I think if you participate, you listen. I think that's more important. So design thinking helps you to look at the entire thing right from the definition of the problem. Naturally, if your definition of the problem is different, your solutions will be different. If the solutions are different, the impact on the user is different. Okay. As a teacher, who's our user? Our user is children, students. So now we are going to wear the shoes or wear the hat of a creator, which is a teacher. And we are going to actually solve problems for the user, who is the student. Okay. Now, why am I talking about design thinking educators? Because if you see on this chart, there are so many problems which are surfacing. And this chart is frankly pre-COVID chart. I mean, if you impose what has happened post-COVID, then there are a lot of online, offline, session taking, virtual examination and all that stuff will come. But there are so many questions, there are so many problems that we as teachers keep bothering about. Some of the problems are not even answered. Some of the problems are not even, we live with those problems permanently. We don't even find solutions to that. but these problems need to be identified, and that's where design thinking for educators makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to summarize this and why design thinking for educators is important. The most important thing is school education system has gone through a disruption. I don't have to elaborate on this point more. We understand what disruption has happened. The future is uncertain. We do not know how examinations will get conducted. Forget about this year, but even going forward, the hybrid of online, offline, flipped classroom, all those things are there in front of us. We don't know how things are going to pan. Now that gives us an opportunity. We also believe, and I am of the firm belief, that every child, every school, and every problem is a unique problem. And therefore, there cannot be one size fit all. If we believe that each child is unique, the problem is unique, then just a second, I think there's a problem with the connection. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, that's clear.
Great. So
Yes,
every
sir.
child is unique. If we believe that the child is unique, then we have to find out unique solutions for the problems. Okay, and we are going to touch this right after this. You understand your students and school better. Okay, generic solutions beyond a point are not going to make any impact. So if some consultants come, including us, and tell you that this is the solution that you should take, I think as a teacher, you should try and find out solutions yourself. Maximum, we can equip you, we can facilitate you to take that decision. But ultimately, since you understand your students better, you will be in a better position to do that. Take this as an opportunity and responsibility to create solutions. I think as a teacher, and I have a great respect for that, because I come from a family which has teachers. So it's a great opportunity for you if you really want to look at differently from this. And you need new perspective, new tools, and new approaches to do that. If we believe together as a team, all of us now on this session, that yes, we can make an impact. Yes, we need those tools and we can do that. We believe that the students, every child is unique, and therefore we have a power to influence their world. Then design thinking is a very, very powerful tool in your hands. I think we just saw in that one football example, but that's what we can do. I've just copied what David Kelly, who's the founder of IDEO, and IDEO is the organization we started this design thinking. It's a Stanford Business School aligned company, and Dr. David Kelly is a professor in Stanford. This has been almost a 4-decade-old technology used in corporates significantly. But the interesting part is David Kelly and his entire team practice that with educators. And the recent data publishes that they have dealt with 30 million teachers across United States and other parts of the world, and looked at very encouraging results. So he says very clearly, he says, if you want to make your education more relevant, more effective, and more enjoyable, and as a teacher, that's what we want, nothing else. Okay. I would request everyone to mute.
I'll just mute everybody. You will unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Deepal. So if we make our education more relevant, more effective, and more enjoyable for all the involved, then teachers will have to really look at redesigning the systems themselves. And we can start small. We don't have to redesign the entire school or redesign the entire process, or go to CBSE tomorrow and say that your systems are bullshit. We want to implement new systems. It doesn't work that way. Small changes, if we can do, then we can actually build the entire transformation step by step. And that's what David Kelly also says. Okay, interesting thing. Design thinking is about believing we can make the difference. So if you as a teacher believe that you can make a difference, and having an intentional process in order to get to new relevant solutions that can create positive impact on students. And it also gives you faith in terms of creative abilities. Why talk about teachers and why you will see NPower is probably one of the first organizations working with teachers on design thinking, is because we strongly believe that teachers have an ability to create next generation. In fact, that's the job.
किधरे नहीं जाएगा रुक जा I'm moving everybody, Sushil.
Yeah, requesting everyone to please put yourself on mute in order to not to interrupt the class and the flow. If you have any questions, then only you can unmute. Otherwise, please keep it on mute. Is everybody in sync? Has everybody has fallen away? Oh, we see still 231 participants. That means everybody is awake and everybody is hopefully enjoying the session. Does this make sense? You can put thumbs up and tell us so that we know that what I'm talking makes sense to you all. Wonderful. I can see so many thumbs up, different colors though, but yeah. Okay, and design thinking gives you faith in your own creative abilities. Okay, I think, and I'm being very honest and candid, particularly in the society today, I don't know whether you'll believe at the end of the session, you may kill me for saying this also. A teacher as a job, as a profession, has not been taken with the respect which probably 5 decades it was. Probably the way we were looking at our teachers, current generation doesn't look at that way. And there are many more reasons for that. I think time has come for us to reposition and regain that entire confidence, that respect that we ought to give. And if India has to move ahead, I think it's whether the education ministry, whether schools, whether principals, we as a community will have to work very quickly in terms of getting that kind of a transformation as quickly as possible, because there is the power of creation in our hands, and if we can do that, then we can actually create that transformation. Otherwise, we'll keep on doing the same thing which we kept on doing all over the years, and it will not yield the results, and we'll again become something like Honduras bridge. Let me quickly talk about 4 important things of design thinking, and why I call design thinking as a mindset and not as a some kind of a tool or a process. Number 1, design thinking is very human centered. It cannot be mechanized. It cannot be learned and taught and done. Okay, it changes with every human being. So a teacher sitting in Sikkim versus teacher sitting in Tamil Nadu versus teacher sitting in Punjab actually will have different perspective, and so are the students. And therefore, it completely depends upon how the current situation is. It is a collaborative effort. It's not unilateral. In problem solving, it's unilateral. I have a solution, you have a problem, I give you a solution, you accept that solution. In design thinking, it's basically a collaboration of a user and a creator, a collaboration of a teacher and a student. And we'll see how that happens. It's very optimistic. And when I say optimistic, because it's quite reflective. You have to continuously keep on reflecting on what we have done. What we have done today, maybe 2 years later, it will become irrelevant, but that's perfectly fine. What we do 2 years later may become irrelevant 4 years later. And that's perfectly fine, because today we are living in this kind of a generation. I'm sure all of you would be aware of the data that 62% of today's jobs will not exist by 2023 because of change in technology, AI, and all that stuff. There's another data published by World Economic Forum that 85% of the jobs in 2030 are not even invented. So we are into the process. So we have to be optimistic on that. And the last one, it's very experimental. You have to keep doing those experiments as a teacher. So most of the science teachers would love it because they keep doing experiments in chemistry and physics and of course biology. But even non-science teachers should not mind, because if you keep on experimenting this, you will be able to find out a lot of use of design thinking in your stuff. And over a period of time, as you practice this will become your mindset. You will start thinking in this way only, And that is where the beauty of this will happen. And that is where you'll see a dramatic difference between your solutions versus solutions of a normal problem solving. And again, I'm coming back to the famous scientist. Every time Albert Einstein comes to my rescue, because if I say this, nobody will listen. But if I say that Albert Einstein has said this, then everybody listens very carefully. And he says a very simple thing. He says, if somebody gives me 1 hour to solve a problem, I'll spend 55 minutes in thinking about a problem and only 5 minutes in about a solution. What we do is exactly ulta. We spend 55 minutes in finding a solution. We assume the problem. Okay, just look at that Heer Ranja example. We assumed the problem and we started finding out the solution. Till somebody asked me a question that what is the problem? So she tried to identify the problem. And that's what happens many times with us. Let's come and understand the difference between the two. And I spoke very much about problem solving and design thinking. In problem solving, what happens is you are a creator. If somebody is in a problem, or let's say a student is in a problem, but there is something which is going on, you come up with a solution, you give that solution to the user, and then that's about it. So the owner of the solution is you as a creator, because you have created. If a new kind of a toothbrush is needed, I create a toothbrush. If new kind of a vehicle is needed, I design a new vehicle. If new kind of a soap is needed, I design that and I give it to you as a user. In that process, the product, the solution, the kind of architecture remains yours because you have given that. You fall in love with that. And then somewhere you try and force the user to use that. Sometimes user accept it, and then in that case you are lucky. Sometimes user don't accept it. In that case you fail, or we say that the product has failed, or whatever we are trying to do has failed. That is what happens in a problem solving. In design thinking, what we do is we co-create a product or a solution with the user. Okay, so we sit with students. In our case, the users are students, or for that matter, anybody for whom we are solving the problem. We sit with them and we co-create a solution. And in this case, user owns that solution because he or she is part of creating that solution itself. We are going to take this puzzle. I mean, everybody see this picture because I'm then going to stop a screen share. And there is a problem on this page, on this picture. And I'm sure everybody must have found out what the problem is. Make sense? Okay, look at this picture very carefully. I'm going to give you 15 more seconds. Done, everyone? Oh, you want to see again? Simple picture, the boy who's not paying attention in the class. I'm sure everybody must have had this kind of student. When I was a child, I was exactly like this. So this is more of me going to my childhood days. What we have to do now, simple. I don't know whether you have a pen or pencil in front of you. Write down why this boy is behaving like this. Just one answer or maybe two answers, maybe three answers. You give exactly 1 minute to do that. Your time starts now. Why do you think this child is behaving the way he's behaving? Anything. I mean, you're writing in chat box, just write it on your this thing, but I can see in the chat box itself, bored, class doesn't interest him, boy sitting with a girl, so or maybe a love angle, very good. The child is not interested, he's not understanding, one common strategy, he's not comfortable. Yeah, so there are so many things. Not interested. Nothing challenging. Okay, yeah, wonderful. Class is not interesting, interactive. Child is tired. He's hungry. This is a lecture method, so that is not interesting. Maybe activity would have helped. Maybe this child is tired. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to request Deepal to put a poll in front of you. There are some 10 reasons which you have put. You can select one or you can select multiple, and there's other option. So if your option doesn't fit into that, you can select that as well. And
You can choose whichever option you think.
yeah, you can choose multiple options as well. Yeah, I can see only the result. I can't see.
Same.
Wonderful.
Because we are host, that's why.
Yeah, everybody. So one answer is getting lots and lots of this thing. 35 people are saying he is not able to understand what is taught. Classical theory. "20 more seconds. He is naughty and doing intentionally. Last 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
End the poll, Sushil?
No,
give maybe 15 more seconds. Everybody must have gone through this situation as a child as well as a teacher. We get so many students like this.
So 153 out of 220 replied so far.
153. Rest of the people are exactly behaving like the child has behaved in the class. They're not paying attention to what I'm saying. Come on. Till the time we have 225 participants, will not go ahead.
Sushil, you and me are not able to see the poll.
Okay, so 221. Come on, don't behave like a child. Give your opinion. Your opinion counts. It's like voting.
So 70% already voted, I think.
Done.
Yeah.
That's
This is more than parliament voting.
This is going to end poll now.
Yep.
And I'm going to share the results.
Wonderful. So 106 people out of 161 are saying that he is not able to understand what has been taught. That is winning by the margin. But there are so many people are saying other things also. He's not unwell, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going into the answers. Okay. Super. My next question to you is, how many of you have spoken to this child?
None of us.
Naturally, it's a picture. We don't even know which country he's from.
Maybe he can't hear.
Maybe he can't hear. Yeah, I think that's another reason. But none of us have spoken to this child. So my next question to you is how we could come up with these answers if you have not spoken to this child.
Because we went with the obvious.
Interactive method.
Usually,
Yeah, but
whatever is prevalent.
Whatever
We
is
have to
prevalent.
interact with him. We have to
No,
interact
we
with
tried
him.
to study the body language of the child.
Okay.
Body
We
language.
yeah. Okay. We tried to study the body language. We saw that he's the only guy who was wearing a sweater. Others are not wearing the sweater. All other students are quite attentive. He's the only one who's not attentive. Blah blah blah. But we have not spoken to that. And basis the body language, whatever we have seen in the picture, we have interpreted and given this, right? Somebody said that we have this is how we have perceived. Okay. This is what typically happens. Now look at this. We are about 161 people participated in this. And one answer has stood out significantly. And look at other answers. There's such a diverse opinion about what we think about this child. And I'm sure as a teacher, all of us have gone through this kind of a situation. And our perception about this is totally different. Okay. What happens in our mind, and that has nothing to do with teacher. It's basically a human psychology. We build our own perceptions. Those perceptions help us to build our own interpretations. And those interpretations help us to take decisions. Right? We build our perceptions. Those perceptions help us to build our interpretations. And these interpretations help us to build our own actions. For example, we say this 7th standard class is absolutely naughty. All of them, something, they feel they're God's gift to mankind kind of a thing, Or sometimes we see that typically if this kind of a child is not paying attention, that means he is, taught, or he's already going to classes, or he's not attentive or whatever. Okay. And in this particular picture, we have not spoken. Assuming a situation, I'm taking one step further. If you would have spoken to this child, 90% of the time, this child would have come back and said, no teacher, sorry teacher, I was paying attention, I was looking here and all. You will not be able to get correct answer most of the time. And we have all faced that, okay? We then have to ask so many questions to that child to find out what's going in his mind. It's like a situation you go to a doctor and doctor sees you and says that, boss, you have malaria. It doesn't happen that way. Or doctor says, what happened? You say fever. Now fever can be multiple things. Nowadays we feel fever means corona. But there can be multiple things. It can be malaria, dengue, typhoid, so on and so forth. I'm not a medical professional. But doctor asks you so many questions. When the fever comes, what is the degree of fever? Does it come in the morning or evening? Does it come with a cough and cold? Does it happen this way? Does it go up to 104? Till what time it remains? Is it for 4 days, 5 days? Have you eaten anything? They ask so many questions. Okay, sometimes those questions are not at all related to what, fever. Sometimes we feel, why the hell doctor is asking this? Doctor asks, are you married? As if fever has something to do with marriage. Or probably true. But I think that is something which we have to understand. So if we try and understand what the child is going through, then probably we'll be able to understand what the problem is. Now, this is example of one student, okay? Like that, there will be so many students in the class. And like that, there will be so many students in the city. And like that, there will be so many students in the state. And like that, there will be so many students in the country. We cannot generalize the solution for this kind of thing. So if I see this picture, this is the solution. It cannot happen that way. Each problem can be unique. And if I can identify that problem, then probably I'll be able to find out what is the particular solution I can go ahead with this. The way I have dealt with the last year batch, I cannot deal with this year batch in the same way. Okay. The way I have dealt in an offline session, I cannot deal that in the same in an online session because I do not know how the child is sitting. Probably 5 minutes back when before the session, the child had a fight with his mother or something nasty happening in this thing. I don't even know what is the modus operandi. I mean, typically we get an example when a child wears a uniform to come in the school. Not only he or she wears the uniform, but they physically transform in the makeup of a school. In the online parlor, that even doesn't happen. He wakes up and he directly sits 5 minutes before he wakes up, and then he sits for the session, and sometimes he dozes. Okay, so these are various problems that we face. Students do not have internet, students do not have bandwidth, they do not have devices, there is noise at the place. There are so many problems that we face. We ourselves are completely unaware. Forget about them. When we are taking session, there can be cooker ka city at the back, there can be child shouting here, and sometimes it becomes uncontrollable. And when we are taking a session, we completely get distracted. So there are so many problems. We cannot generalize the problem. The moment we generalize the problem, we'll not be able to find a solution. So what is the best method? The best method is to go back to the child, understand what the problem is, redefine that problem. Maybe the problem which we believed and the problem which is already there is totally different. And that is what will help us to go ahead with the solution. So that actually helps you to understand the difference between the two. In problem solving, the pursuit is only on the solution. The pursuit means the end focus. Whereas in design thinking, the pursuit is on getting those insights. I'm going to move a bit quickly on this because I think we are running short of time. So in the problems solving, the problem statement is the starting point. In design thinking, as I said, rediscovering the problem and redefining the problem is the starting point. Okay. Here the user and solver are different. We said that it's a co-creation in case of design thinking. Lot of problem solving depends on the past experience, past data and analysis. Whatever wealth of information that we have, we go back to that information, we design a solution, we give it back. In design thinking, everything is on a clean slate. Everything is new. We start exploring, we start experimenting and test various solutions. Look at a complete difference between the two. In terms of problem solving, the processor leads us to the solution. In design thinking, we discover the solution. We as the creator also do not know the solution. Ultimate solution, what will that be? We ourselves do not know. You cannot assume the solution, that is the solution and we go ahead. It gets evolved over a period of process. And therefore, most importantly, in case of problem solving, the user has a choice to accept or reject the solution. In case of design thinking, user internalizes the solution. Very important. User becomes a part of a solution because user starts owning up the solution because we have done it along with the user. And if we do that, the risk of failure gets, I wouldn't say completely eliminated, but gets minimized to the significant extent. Let's come to very quickly, and we are going to practice this in few minutes. These are the stages of design thinking. It starts with empathizing, defining, ideate, prototype, test, and implement. Okay, you can see back arrows going. What does that mean? That means it's an iterative process. You from ideate you can go back to define. From prototype you can go back again to empathize. That's the important takeaway. The second important takeaway: it doesn't start with idea. It doesn't start with your solution. It starts with empathizing with the user, understanding what it is, and redefining the problem. That becomes very important. A third important takeaway is whatever ideas that you get, you prototype those ideas, you test those ideas, and then you implement. You can't say this is my idea, I know everything, and this is the solution, take it or leave it. It doesn't happen that way. They're going to go through the steps a bit carefully. For example, the first one, empathize. Here, you try and spend as much time with the user as possible to understand what's going in their mind. Okay, the problem on the surface will be completely different. Just as this boy which we saw, the problem would be that he's not understanding. But we have to get deeper. Why is he not understanding? Is it his problem? Is it teacher's problem? Why this is happening? So you have to understand underneath. Then only you'll be able to understand where the real problem is. Once you get wealth of information, then you start building insights, understanding where the problem is, and start redefining what the problem is. We're going to do a quick activity, and I'm sure you all will just enjoy that activity and something which will relate significantly. I'm going to show you one quick tool, which is known as activity analysis. Now, what happens in activity analysis? Activity analysis is something, if you take a problem, break that into multiple sub-activities. And once you break that into sub-activities, there is something known as 5 Ys, 5 Ws, and 1 H. Okay, which is basically 5 Ws. Ask questions like what is happening, where it is happening, what does it happen, when does it happen, who, why. So W, what, where, when, who, why, all these Ws. And 1 how. How does it happen? So that's why it is known as a 5W, 1H. Jokingly, we say 5 wives and 1 husband. It's exactly opposite of Pandavas, where they had 1 wife and 5 husbands. It's the opposite of Pandavas that you can think of. But you take the process. In this case, we have taken one process of middle school students attending the online class. Now, this is a simple problem statement. Middle school attending online class. What's there? What we have done is now we have broken that into 7 sub-activities. And you can actually break that into 15 activities also. Nothing stops you. But in the interest of time, we have broken that into 7 activities. Now, what are the activities? It starts from morning. He gets up in the morning. Then they open the device and log in. Then they take notes. They seek clarifications. They take homework instruction. They complete the homework. They submit. So this is a complete flow. You can even break that further. And now take each of the component and start asking questions that what is happening, where it is happening, why does it happen. This helps you to get tons and tons of information about what exactly is happening. Here, we are not bothered about what the problem is. We are only trying to get information. Once you go through this, as we go ahead, you will understand the power of this entire thought process. So if you really try and do this, you ultimately end up making this kind of a chart. For each of the sub-activity, you get a box that what is happening, where it is happening, when does it happen. For example, children getting ready in the morning. Where does it happen? It happens in their bedroom, their kitchens, their bathrooms. When does it happen? It happens early in the morning. Who all are involved? Their parents are involved, their siblings are involved, their grandparents are involved. Why does it happen? Because they have to be ready with this. So there are so much of information that can come out. If there are more siblings, then naturally they don't get enough time in bathroom. If there are less number of people in the family, then probably they will get that. There'll be kitchen occupied, they don't get breakfast. All these things, the father has to go for an online session somewhere or online work, working from home. So he's working on the next door. So all that stuff gets captured out here. What we are going to do now is, if you have understood this chart very quickly, what we are going to do is we are going to break you in breakout sessions. Okay, all of us are going to get in those breakout sessions exactly 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, what I expect you to do, take any one sub activity and take 1 or 2 boxes, 1 or 2 questions. What is happening and where is happening, or who all are involved. Take at least couple of boxes and write down all that comes to your mind. Now, ideally, this has to be done with the children, okay, because children is a user. In the interest, we do not have children, we all have teachers. But I'm sure all of you are, most of you would be mothers, and you also would be going through the same situation. You can actually pretend about children and bring about all the information that you think of children and put it out here. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that. I'm going to request people to break us in breakout rooms. Each breakout would be probably 10 people, so we'll have about 20 breakout rooms. In that breakout room, pick up any activity. Don't fight on which activity to be picked up, and don't spend 5 minutes only selecting the activity. Very quickly come to consensus, pick up one activity and fill up at least 2 boxes. What is happening and where it is happening, or when is happening, who is happening, or why is happening, how. Whichever questions you feel comfortable, pick up those questions and write down as much information as possible. Okay, does that make sense? I'm going to stop my screen share so that I can see you guys departing into this. Everybody's understood what needs to be done? Fun? Do you think it's
Just
fun?
give me a minute. Yeah, give me a minute, Sushil.
No, we don't have a minute. We'll have to do less than a minute.
Okay, great. I'm just opening the room. Breakout rooms are basically rooms where you all will go inside and you'll get a group of teachers where you can speak to. Nobody can hear you there. Okay.
Yeah,
like
we are not going to
personal
come.
room.
Don't fight. Don't kill each other. Be cordial.
Okay, I'm opening the rooms now.
Yeah, and try and fill at least 2 boxes. Write down as much information as possible. Somebody can just write it down. There's few people still outside.
Yeah, they all are asking for help.
Yeah, speak out.
No, not these, the ones in the room.
Yeah, so Supriya can go inside, whichever group requires, and you can also go, not a problem. Shubhangini can go if she's there. Write a comment saying that take any sub activity and answer just 1 or 2 questions. Answer just 1 or 2 W's.
I'm just going into a room and coming.
Yeah. I can see Shubhangi Pawar, Aratam, Harpreet. Have you been assigned to rooms? Can you hear me? Yeah, so you can, if you have been assigned to a room, go to the room and then you can work on the idea or the 1H.
I'm going to add everybody to the waiting room and then, again, when admit them and put them in a room.
Okay.
Because they're not going on their own. Just too many.
Yeah. We have more than 200 participants.
Mm-hmm. I think they are leaving the rooms and coming out.
That's okay. Is Kaustubh there?
No, he hasn't joined. Sure, I'll put you in breakout room number 7.
Okay. Problem hai?
Asking for help.
Yeah.
Which room are you in?
I was in 8.
You're in 8?
Assigned to 8.
Okay, I'll just move you to 8. 7. Okay, I've moved you to 7.
Okay.
Hi, Bhakti. Can you hear me? Hi, Pavitra. Time is up. Should I close the room?
People, you have muted everybody, so they're not able to speak to each other.
I've not muted anybody. I can't mute anybody in the breakout room.
Maybe, but since beginning, so they are not able to. They say that we can't talk to each other.
No, I haven't.
We are not able to unmute.
No. That is, I've not exercised that option at all.
Open kar de chal.
Actually, the time wasn't sufficient. We didn't realize that 5 minutes were over so soon.
Yeah, actually, we need more
Yeah,
time.
actually.
Yes.
Forget about that. 90 minutes for giving design thinking itself is not sufficient, but I've been told to do that. So now you can understand my plight. I only suffer, so I wanted everybody to suffer. That's why I give.
That's very mean of you, sir.
through your shoes.
No,
That was
just kidding.
indeed kind, I would say.
I should have given 3 minutes. Okay, great. Sorry, extremely sorry that I just gave it in 5 minutes. I know 5 minutes is not sufficient, but I think in the interest of time, we had to do that. But more importantly, I think what we need to really understand is if we, as a group of 10 teachers, if we start looking at, I don't know whether you could write 4, 5 and all, if you can just put that in chat box and let me know how many things that you could write as a group, 5, 3, 4, 2, whatever in 5 minutes. You can just put on chat.
One question.
6, okay.
When does it happen?
Wonderful. 6, 5, 6. Wonderful. 9, wow. 6, 6, 6. So average, I can see 11. Wonderful. They were only writing, looks like. 11, 6, 8, 6. Wonderful. Great, great, great. Superb, superb. So I'm very happy. I think, on an average, in 5 minutes, you could write at least 5, 6 things. I think there were 20 groups, and if I just take arithmetic of 20 groups into 5, we probably got 100 things on paper. If we eliminate, and I'm sure each one of you would have taken, somebody would have taken why, where, how, and all. If you would have, requesting everybody to be on mute, please. Yeah, thanks. So if 20 into 5 is about 100, 120. If we eliminate duplication, then still will be about 60, 70 things. And I am assuming, let's say 30 will be elimination of duplication. So we got 70 different perspectives about a situation in 5 minutes. Look at the power of design thinking. Okay. Now, imagine a situation, if you have 5 days to do this, look at the wealth of information that you can get. You yourself will get about 200, 300 things. And as a group spread across the country, if all of us spend 5 days in just identifying where the problem is, I can bet on this, and we can really do that experiment. We can come out with, if not anything, at least 10,000, 15,000 things, insights or experiences that actually can be notable, which can be unique. Okay. Now, if you have 10,000 such things, 10,000 small experiences of students, why it is happening, where it is happening and all, and we start going through that sequentially, we will be able to find out groups, insights that, this particular thing is coming again and again. So, the internet availability during afternoon is becoming a problem for students. And inadequate breakfast before the session starts is a second problem. And school timing starting at, let's say, 8 o'clock becomes the third. So we'll try and identifying those insights. Okay. Those insights will be able to help us to define the problem. Are you able to understand? Are you with me on this? Okay. So the basis for defining a problem is not our interpretation, our perceptions, our understanding of the problem. The basis for defining a problem is all the experiences that we have collated through this kind of activity from students. And then we have been, elevated, or we have been wiser in terms of what is actually happening. It's just like a doctor. He or she asks so many questions, and basis that they make their inferences. They never judge, saying that 5 o'clock one patient came and then the next patient came. Because the previous patient had malaria, you also will have malaria. It doesn't happen that way. They will treat you just as a new patient. Similarly, this will help us to understand where the problem lies. And that brings us to the second step in transforming stories, transforming understanding into meaningful insights. And we as teachers can do that meaningfully. We can collect videos, pictures. I can tell you the importance of, and probably you understand that, importance of observations, listening, sometimes body language. Student is saying something but actually means something else. Language, their own interpretation of stuff. All that, if you can collate, then we will be able to get meaningful. Can you mute, please? Yes, thank you. If we put meaningful stories, then that helps us to define the problem. Design thinking, the most and the crucial step is defining the problem. If you go wrong here, rest everything will be wrong, and doesn't matter if it goes wrong. You can again come back to this thing because it's an iterative process. You can again come back from ideation to prototype back defining the problem, or even to empathize, to understand more about the user, that this information is inadequate. Let's talk to them. Let's identify. Okay. But if you go right in defining this, then you are king. Then you understand what's happening. Okay. Once we in empathy stage, we go back to the user and get all the information. Once we define, we again go back to the user and ask that, this is my understanding your problem. Is that correct? And this is where the user will say, this is exactly I wanted to say. I was not able to articulate, but probably this is the articulation of the problem. Then comes the next step is ideating. And here, look at the word multiple ideas. What does that mean? That means there is no one particular solution, one particular idea to solve one particular problem. There should be always multiple ways of solving the problem. So if suppose a child says, and in the previous one we said that the child is not able to understand. And if that is a problem, and then we need to really make our session interesting. Now I can make my session interesting by gamification. I can make it by adding more quizzes and riddles the way I did. I can make it, more activity oriented. Even in gamification, I can do online, offline. Even in terms of activities, I can make physical activities or experiential. So there can be multiple solutions of solving the same problem. Take all these multiple solutions and again go back to the user. I mean, this solution creation is done by us, by teachers. We sit together as a group. We come up with multiple solutions. Don't cut down solutions that this is stupid idea, that is stupid idea. Everything is good. Okay, take all those ideas and go back to the user that this is what is happening. Now, while going back to the user, you just can't tell the idea to the user that this is what they think. What do you think? User will say, that's okay. What you need to do is to convert the idea into something which user can tangibly see. And that is where prototype comes into picture. So what happens in case of prototype is you convert the idea in a rudimentary thing. You don't make a final product, but you make something which the user can touch and feel, and which the user can give a feedback. For example, I go to the student and say, I will gamify the session. Student will say, gamify karo. I don't understand what the gamification is. He doesn't understand. So I said gamification, user said, fantastic, gamify. Now user's understanding of gamification is different. My understanding of gamification is different. And I put some games and activities. Student says, oh, gamification, this useless games. I didn't want these games. I wanted online games to be incorporated. Then your product is failed. So you have to convert your idea into meaningful prototype where you should be able to translate what you mean into something which user can touch and feel and tell you that this is good, this is bad. Invariably in design thinking, what happens, and this has been proven, that the student says that I like 3 things in idea 1, 2 things in idea 2, 4 things in idea 3, 4th idea I didn't like at all. Okay. That is the beauty, that is the importance of taking multiple ideas. Now, if you take this feedback, you can collate all this feedback and create a 6th solution, which can be best of idea 1, best of idea 2, best of idea 3, put all these things together and create another solution. And that can be the final solution, which you need to test with the user. Okay. Look at the beauty. I mean, multiple ideas prototype, showing them a touch and feel, and converting that into testing them. And at any point of time, if user said, oh, this is something which I didn't want, I never liked it, then that means we have gone somewhere wrong, either in terms of defining a problem or empathy, getting more data. So again, we can go back, and that's why this process is iterative. And once we do that, we can implement it across the school, across the state. Something which is done better in, let's say, Pune, can actually travel back to Bhubaneswar, and something is good done in Tripura can be actually done back well in Chennai. So we can actually look at those solutions. If you go through this all these steps again, you will realize the power of design thinking. One is the solution is not mine. The solution has emerged basis my dialogue with the user group, in this case student. So I've spoken to student, I've identified the problem, and we have come up with multiple solutions. On those solutions, students have given a feedback, and that's how we have built that. And once you give back the solution to them, this is more workable, this is more acceptable, this is more internalized by the children, and that is what the power of design thinking in your hands. Okay, what you can do is you can actually use this for curriculum, your classrooms, your spaces, your teaching tools, school system, student behavior, anything that is related to your universe, you can actually use design thinking. And I can go one step further. As forget about a school, teacher as a human being, if you start practicing design thinking, you can apply this in many things, in human relationships, at home, at so many things. You can build this mindset and start using it. Actually tells you a simple thing. Before coming up with an idea, first internalize, first find out what is there in the user's mind. For us, all of us are user. I mean, our spouses are our user, our children are our users. Okay, our society where we stay are our users, our school system is users. Do this. I mean, if I am a school, what I can do is all my teachers can write down all the problems on the piece of paper and select the most 5 problems which are bothering us. It can be a failure of communication with parents. That can be one problem. It can be inadequate space in the school. That's another problem. Frequent breakdown of internet in online. That can be another problem. So find out those things. A frequent breakdown in internet, you can't say that that's a problem of a student, because you are responsible for giving the learning. So you have to build a solution. So how do you build a solution for that? So we can take those problems, ask so many things to the student, get the information, define the problem, come up with multiple ideas, go back to the student, work out, take a feedback, what works, what doesn't work, come up, fine tune the solution, and then test it, and then perfect that. If we as teachers can start doing this in a simple way, okay, we will be able to transform in a smaller way and do that. Now, why I said this is a transformation tool. We started this session with problem solving. We are ending this session with design thinking. You yourself, once you've gone through this, you realize a power of this without even practicing. And I'm sure when you start practicing, you'll start loving this process even more. Student behavior, understanding student behavior. Many times we come up with a situation where students are behaving in one particular way with one teacher, behaving in another particular way with other teachers. Okay. Many times we say that, nobody listens to me, but when it comes to a science teacher, everybody listens. She is the favorite teacher and all. You'll be able to solve all these kind of things if you make that kind of systems and build this kind of a process within the school. Even design thinking is a very powerful tool for students. And we are not saying this offhand, because we have done this n number of times with students and build this kind of solutions. And believe me, I say that with a great pride, the amount of or the kind of solutions that they come up with, the kind of ideas that they come up with, we can't even match 10-20% of their thinking process. Sheer because they are completely unadulterated. They're completely risk-free. They don't think consequences that this is right, this is wrong. They don't think this is stupid, this is, and that actually helps them to come up with multiple solutions. And this particular age for them, which is 10 to 18-year-old, is the most formative age. That is something which, if you can help them to nurture, that's very important. And why this is important? Because the world for them is going to change a lot. It's continuously changing. So they have to keep managing with this change all the time. Many of the times which I work with students, and I often say, one thing which I always see with regret is, this generation is not able to empathize significantly. I mean, frankly, they don't even empathize with teachers. So how do we make empathy the starting point for everybody? And once we build a culture of empathy, imagine a kind of society that we can create of empathy around us. Convert the problem into opportunity. Don't think of problem as a problem. How do you convert it into opportunity? A person will be able to convert that into opportunity only if they understand the problem better and have multiple ideas to solve that. And idea is the new currency. We have to inculcate that in the minds of children, that those who are having ideas, and it is not about entrepreneurship, anything that they do, they want to become good doctor, lawyers, engineers, guitarists, artists, bloggers, any career that they choose, if they have ideas, they can be better. And leave aside the wealth, but they will be able to be better citizens and have better successful life for themselves. So this is what design thinking is all about. Okay, I'm going to pause here for about a minute, or maybe I'll take the next section and then I can pause for question answers. What we are trying to do is, and this is something which has been in our mind for long. What we are trying to create, if you love this entire design thinking framework, and if I am able to at least deliver 0.1% of what design thinking and transfer that to you and create that enough excitement in your mind, we are in the process of creating design thinking teachers network. We want teachers like you who believe that they can create an impact, who believe that every child is unique and you have a power to create a solution. It's just the way we need different tools, different approaches to do that. We are thinking of facilitating this entire process. So in this process, we are created a design thinking teachers network. I'll give you a very quickly what it is. Number one, is it absolutely free? There are no fees, nothing, because we are in the process of facilitation. Therefore, it's absolutely simple. It's a easy to use platform. On this platform, you'll be able to collaborate and solve problems. If you sit in Tripura, you have a problem somewhere, you can actually collaborate with teachers across and you will be able to solve the problem. Just the way we said, we create a cohort, we build empathy maps, we identify, get all the knowledge, we work on defining the problem, we work on ideas, and then we solve the problem. You'll also get a chance to get certified courses on design thinking from global experts. We have a network with United States, we have network with Israel, Finland. So we'll be able to get great speakers. I mean, some of the speakers in India are fabulous speakers as far as design thinking is concerned. We'll get them on board as well. You'll be able to learn tools and approaches to improve your learning environment. And that is something which teachers want. And you can be part of this transformation. So if you become part of this community, if you become part of this network, it's absolutely free of cost, because we don't have a profit motive behind this. We want somewhere to start a process of using design thinking to solve our own problems. And we believe that if teachers use this extensively, we will be able to mentor you, we'll be able to guide you in terms of doing this. Together, we can work on so many problems. And as we solve the problems, we can transfer the knowledge across. I wanted to stop at a point where I strongly believe that teachers can really make an impact, because somewhere teachers is an important pillar. I'm not saying because I'm talking in the teachers forum, but I genuinely believe the kind of impact I can create on 100 students. If I can create an impact with 100 teachers, those 100 teachers in turn talk to 100 students, alone I'll be able to make an impact of 10,000. So the amount of scale that we can reach on the students will be phenomenal. And in this process, if teachers start thinking like a design thinker, once you start building this mindset, then this will become a very natural process for you. And once you pick that up, then I think sky is the limit in terms of transforming the entire education system. These are my last 2 bits, and then I can be open for question answers. And I want to again take back all of us to roots. I don't know how many of us we know, but between first AD to 16th century, 1600 years, India's total contribution to world's total economic activity was 27%. I mean, that's the kind of economy, that's the kind of pride that we were. And this is not our research. This has been done by Angus Madison, who was a noted British economist. Okay. After 16th century, unfortunately, British came, a lot of things happened, education system changed, everything changed in India. And today we are about 4.5%, 5% of total economic activity. If India has to go back to the glories, and if all of us believe that has to happen, the most important thing has to happen is to change or transform education system. And who better than teachers can actually do that? So if we take that onus on us as teachers, every individual, a big or a small change, we can't say that, wo to CBSE karega, let CBSE change, let the education minister change, let the system change, then I will change, let the school principal change. It doesn't happen that way. If we believe that the change has to happen, then we have to become that change agent. And I strongly believe that we all are that teenager. If you have to take India to the past glory, then design thinking mindset is not a luxury, it's probably the must. We on ENpower have taken a challenge to 1 million students by 2025. We treat this as a polio dose for ourselves. We virtually take every child and prick this dose of design thinking entrepreneurship, because we know that if they take this dose just as a vaccine, they will be able to build a far better India for us. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to open the forum for question answers. We have about 10-15 minutes. I deliberately rushed through because then a lot of things we can cover in question answers. And for the first time, I am on time, so I am very happy. Otherwise, Vikram and Deepal have warned me 10 times before you don't overspeed on time. Okay, the forum is open for questions. If you can unmute yourself and ask questions.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, Shivani.
Yeah. So this is Shivani. I'm heading HRM Global School. This is a startup in Pitampura, Delhi. And I wish to know that how do we go about with such kind of a design thinking program? Can we have some innovation lab or a design thinking lab designed for students and all?
Yes. So as an organization, we do entrepreneurship and design thinking programs in the school for students. We do it for teachers as well. I mean, this was just an introduction, but we do a full-fledged 6-hour program for design thinking with teachers where we handhold in one process. We just showed you one activity analysis. We help you to go through this process. We do a 18-hour workshop with children where we take them through a design thinking process, make them learn this entire process, and help them to work on those ideas. They come up with product prototypes. We build that. I think in the first video, you would have seen students coming up with a lot of ideas. We have built a platform known as India's Future Tycoons, where students come up and build their own ventures, venture ideas, build their own ideas. So all that is there. I think please feel free to get in touch with my colleague Shubhangini. I think Vikram will share the details.
Yes,
Yeah,
we will share all the relevant details.
I have shared you and talk in detail because I'm looking for the year-round curriculum for
Yes.
all grades.
We have year-long curriculum on this.
Right. All right. So please, in the chat box, if you could just share the details, I'll just note it down.
We'll do that. Thank you, Shivani. Any other question? Did you love the session? Did you feel empowered? Did you feel this is something useful?
Okay, so there is a question from one of the teacher. Is the workshop being charged or it's free for the students?
The workshop, the introductory workshops we do free for students, but if you do a long workshop, then those workshops are charged for students. The platform, the network we spoke about teachers, that's completely free. We are basically creating a ecosystem for teachers to do that. But if you conduct a workshop for students, then it's paid. But don't worry, I mean, we charge very minuscule charges.
If I can add one line to whatever feedback has been shared so far. So, in my 15 years of teaching experience, and before that, I was working as scientist also, whatever. So, people have been telling that one has to move into design thinking and that's the need of the hour. But how to move into that was never shared. So your session was a very, very practical approach to enter into design thinking, and a big applaud for that. Thank you so much for reaching out to us. Thanks.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. I think people like us, people like you make us proud. Appreciate all your time and the kind feedback that you're giving.
I have a request. If we could get the recording of the session, it'll be nice. We would want to, show it to our teachers also, because today we had only 2 people, who could join. But then, if that could be sent to us on
Yes.
the WhatsApp, that'll be really nice. And it was a wonderful, wonderful session. Thank you.
Yes, definitely the session would be shared to you. We'll be creating the link and sharing it to you, ma'am.
We will do that.
Okay,
In fact, if there are more teachers, I mean, I'm just telling offhand, Vikram, I'll be more than happy if you want to get the session again, because live interaction makes a lot of sense. So I'll be happy. Don't worry. We can plan that if Vikram feels.
Yeah, definitely in the June. Okay, June once the school reopens, and after that school settle downs.
I think
June end or July first week, we can have another session.
my colleague would have shared on the WhatsApp link of the network. So if you become the part of that network, I think all of us together, and to be very honest, I mean, just because we have practiced design thinking ahead of you, we know little more than you. But as you come on board, you yourself will realize there is no rocket science. It is just the process that we have to go through. But if
Good evening, sir.
together, if you can do, solve problems, then that can really add a lot of value. Sorry, somebody from Kolkata wanted to say something.
Good evening, sir. The session was very helpful.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm a primary school teacher. So, getting the attention of young children online classes is extremely difficult. Their attention span is so small that we have to be so creative now. When we had schools before, I didn't feel the pressure of delivering, my lesson plans or getting through with my lessons. But now I have my whole life has transformed into finding out ideas. I'm all the time thinking as an online teacher and all the time bombarding myself with ideas so that I can be more interesting, because children really do not understand that, this is a school, this is a class, they will sit for learning. They're at the home setting. Since they are at a home setting, very small children, like maybe 5-year-old, 6-year-old, they're at home setting, they don't feel that this is a school. So it's a big challenge for us primary school teachers to engage, to be so creative, in order to capture these young minds. And maybe there is like a 5-year-old child who was, I was doing a lot one-to-one with him. So he was very interested when he was talking about his own toys, own games, own interests. But when it became a little bigger class, and when I have to give the attention to all the others, he is losing interest. So, I mean, how can we use design thinking in keeping young minds into the classroom?
So very valid question. I think, if you just the way you spoke about the problem, I'm sure it's not only you. There are at least 10,000 teachers across the country are facing this problem. Now, there are no, there is no one particular solution. As I said, multiple children will have multiple problems into handling this. If as a teacher community, we come together, just as you are in Kolkata, somebody from Delhi, somebody from Mumbai, all of us come together and start talking to children, get all this information, put it on the board, get insights, build ideas and test those, we'll be able to come out with great amount of solutions into this. And then we can test that.
Yeah, I think that forum, if it is shared with us, I would really, because it is a big thing. I mean, we are creating a different curriculum altogether for young children.
Absolutely.
It's and if we can share it with each other, it will become a huge knowledge. That idea came from you.
Correct. So I think my colleague Shubhangini has shared it on chat. So you are free
I'll do it one more time so that everyone can join.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
No, there's
So
nothing.
looking forward for the one more session of this.
Super. So that only means that either you didn't like it or probably you would have liked it, but
Yeah, sir, it was very informative. Nobody is telling us like you, design thinking. It is, we are just hearing that, but it is a need of an hour, but actually we are not getting what is it. So today we have got it.
Wonderful.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And one more thing, there was a page in the beginning of the workshop which talked about some kind of trainings which you offer. I didn't get it.
So those are various programs NELTAS has done. So NELTAS as an organization, in order to build a community, every month they come up with different topics. Just the way this month they came up with design thinking. Every month they come up with different topics for teacher. Something related to education, something not related to education.
So if it is related to primary education, can we be intimidated about that?
Yeah, I think you should be hooked on that. I think if any time when the relevant session comes, you should join those sessions.
Yes,
Okay,
so
thank
you
you
would
so
be send the email. We will be sending you the emails of the upcoming trainings. So those people who have joined these trainings, they will definitely get all the trainings, upcoming trainings, whatever we would be coming up in tie-up with NELTAS and the other our free training also. That details would be shared to you on your email IDs, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I think
Hello.
Haritha
Yeah.
had raised hands.
Sir, is it audible to you, sir?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. It's my pleasure to join this session. I don't know anything regarding design thinking. But when I started this session, it's really motivative for us to change our teaching methodology, ability for thinking. It's really impressive. It's really impressive, sir. Thank you so much. Need one more session, so I can't express in my words, sir. Really, my teaching thinking process has been changed a lot. Because it's a challenge for us when we are dealing online classes to capture the children attentiveness through the subject. Actually, I am a computer teacher, but
Okay.
even I'm teaching computers, it's very tough task for me to capture all the young minds into the subject. They were not at all sitting before the system and listening to the classes. While you are saying all this, it's really motivative for us how to make interest in the children's mind, how we have to think. Thank you for.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I think we are really overwhelmed. I can just give you two tasks. One is to join that network. It will really help you. The second is you can go on our social media pages and give your feedback out there, because the idea is to propagate this entire thought process of design thinking for teachers. I think we are the only organization which is propagating this. We'll be more than happy if everybody comes on it. And I think, as you rightly said, it's a transformational change for us. If we start working on it, we'll be able to see results. We'll be able to get a better generation going ahead. Not that
So
we were
now we are
bad,
the
but
part of NELTAS only.
wonderful. NELTAS is part of us, so it's in a way
very integrated.
Yeah.
But I really like that you like those sessions, like this session.
Yeah, sir. It was actually informative, and we
Thank
are
you.
looking forward for one more session as soon as possible.
Okay. We'll try and do that. We'll coordinate with NELTAS and we'll try and do that.
Okay. Thank
Any
you
more
so much.
questions on design thinking? Anything that you feel needs to be told, or any questions? Any criticism on design thinking?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So before I proceed, I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the entire team for such a beautiful session, sir. This was really enriching. One thing, like, I don't know if you're going to take it as a criticism or a suggestion or just a point of view from my side, sir. Most of the things which you told, I think all the teachers, because they are facilitators, they connect to their students in a way or other ways, sir. Most of the things, I personally feel that I know this thing, but I never realized that it could be a part of designing, designing thinking. And like, for example, sir, the way you showed that bridge, that it has no like beginning, no end, nothing. So when we are teaching, we come across so many things that we know it's of no use. It's of no use. We are not going to use it. How is it going to help the child? Nothing. We are like all aware, but we don't know how to overcome, sir. So I would request a special session for application of the things, like if you can teach us some strategies, things which are practically not acceptable or understood or needed, or maybe we are just going with the flow, sir, because it is a part of our education policy. Maybe, sir, that is my point of view, because being a teacher, so many times I come across such things, sir. So if we take like conduct any such other session in which we can learn the practical things, जो चीजें जरूरत नहीं है उन्हें हम simply skip करके solemnly involve certain other things which are actually needed, the way you told, sir.
Absolutely. I think I'm really glad that you brought this point on the surface. I think today's objective was to introduce design thinking, and in the interest of time, we couldn't go through the actual applicability of that. I mean, I just give you 5 minutes to do that. We can
Yes,
have
sir.
another session where we can actually implement this probably for a longer time.
Right, sir.
I think one important point which you said, that most of the things you already do, but it has helped you to get a different perspective. And that is what design thinking does. I mean, I made the point at the beginning itself. The power of changing education is in your hand. Nobody else can teach that. Because you know the teacher best, student best, you know the school best, you know the processes best. What we need is a different tools, different approaches, and different thinking process to make the impact. So
Agree,
design
sir.
thinking just gives you that. And if you can, because there is no knowledge, there is no rocket science. I mean, you know far better because you have been in this business, more than I can talk about. So, and all of you. So this is the power that we have. I'm glad that you made that comment.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sushil, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes, Abhijit.
Sir, will you please take an example to explain this design thinking once again? A simple example.
If I have to take quickly a 2-minute example on
Yes, sir.
a
Just a
design
quick
thinking.
revision of it.
Yeah. Any other question before I answer this question?
I don't think so. No.
Sir, please take an example to explain the design thinking, what the concept is it. With a simple example. That is a practical example, taking our class, a student, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So look at a duster, which is a very simple and a relatable example. Now look at a duster is a simple thing. But once you start looking at from a user point of view, you start looking at the grip first. That there is no proper grip to that. So therefore, the change of the grip has the grip has really changed. Okay. Then there's a lot of wooden vestige into this. So started getting into smaller elements into this. You start challenging this kind of a thing, that why do we waste so much of wood, and therefore the different material has been used. Then often we see that the duster is kept separately, the markers are kept separately. Most of the times we often lose markers. So then we have started looking at having a groove inside on the duster itself, so that the marker and duster, both of them can be kept together. Look at all these design changes. These are keeping user into mind. What is user's problem, and how do I solve this problem? Take it further. That I don't need just one marker. I need 2 markers. So can we have now space for 2 markers inside this? Then another thing is the marker and the duster both can be frisked. So therefore, can I add magnet into this, and can I stick it to the board? So now look at from the first duster to the last duster. Practically, it has helped us to solve many problems which are faced by the user. So user centricity is the most important thing. If you try and understand user ko kya problem hai, or kya problem hai, or kya problem hai, what is happening, and you can't go back to the user and say, tell me your problem. Many of the time they're not able to articulate. So that's why you go back to the empathy, understand their environment, what could be the problem, and define the problem. Go back to the user, is this your problem, and then try and solve that problem. This is how a small duster, which is probably a 20-30 rupees element, but look at the amount of innovation which has gone into this. The first product which was designed using design thinking, you'll be shocked to know, is the Apple company, where they build a mouse which we used, which virtually transformed entire computer industry. So that's the first product where the design thinking principles were used, and how beautifully, till the time we were just using keyboard. They said that the keyboard usage is not user friendly, so they applied it on a mouse, and they came out with the external this thing. Look at the shape of the mouse. It exactly helps you to keep the grip properly, and then both the clicks. Earlier there used to be 3 clicks, then 2 clicks. So how it changes. Similarly, if you apply this in your daily principles of working with students, small things, how the bench arrangement should be, how my classroom should look like, when I write it on the board, how does that should look like, how should I give my homework, okay, how should I check the homework, how should I conduct my assessment, how can I make it more uniform? Everything design thinking can be applied. I hope this small example of duster helped me to clarify.
Yes, sir. Excellent. Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay,
And highly
participants have shared
satisfactory.
the Google. I'm sorry, you were telling something, sir. Please go ahead.
Any other questions, or we are at the end of the session?
Yeah. So participants have shared the Google link in the chat box, though this link would be shared to you through the email as well as a message as well. You can share your feedbacks on the link.
Wonderful. I think we just loved it. I loved it on behalf of my team. I didn't introduce. I have Shubhangini with me. I have Deepal with me.
Hi.
I have Pooja. I don't know whether she's still there, but if she's there, she has put her video off. I have Supriya.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Hi. Yes.
I have Vidhi. All of us are proponent of design thinking among students, among teachers. That's what our passion. All of us will live this as a passion. And please join this movement of transforming the education system in a small way. If everybody joins this, then probably we'll be able to make a big impact. Thank you very much once again. I must thank Vikram and entire team for giving us an opportunity to connect with all of you. It's wonderful. I appreciate the kind of efforts NELTAS takes all the time. Every time I keep telling Vikram that he comes up with different ideas of connecting back with people, and this is his way of giving back to the society. So many congratulations to Vikram for doing this wonderful act.
Thank you so much, Sushil. And of course, we take effort to give back to the society, but companies and people like you, which helps us to make this happen. So thank you so much, and it was really wonderful session. Not just because we have arranged, but yes, from the design. And I have seen many of your examples before as well. And more, I go through this example, and more I listen. I, commit myself more, even in NELTAS. We will be definitely incorporating this to solve our problems through design thinking. So not just the school, and I think all the teachers, principals had great takeaways from this session. Of course, as you mentioned, time was pressing. We need to limit it. But I assure you, all the teachers and principal, definitely we will come up with another session for those who could not attend this.
Super. So on that note, thank you very much. Have a pleasant weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and
Thank
stay
you so
empowered.
much. Thank you so much, Sushil sir.
Thank you.
So now link will be shared with you in the email. I think tomorrow we will be able to share that by tomorrow latest, but tomorrow once we get from the ENpower team, and along with the feedback link also. And we will keep you posted about next month's workshop or seminar topic, everything through email and WhatsApp. So thank you all. You all can sign off now. Have a great weekend and take care. Stay home, stay safe.
A very big thank you to all of you present here, and thank you to both sirs here. It was really a wonderful experience being here, and I was quietly making notes also, because being in the online platform, it's really very challenging. So let's see, we start our school from Sundays. So I will surely work upon tomorrow, and at least if I can incorporate any one or two ideas, I'll feel really blessed and honored. That, yes, I could take back something.
Super, great.
So we have ma'am from DPS Doha.
Yeah, I can read that. Wonderful.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. People, you can stop the recording now so that the editing part will be saved.